Hi guys, Master Coach Tony Morgan. In today's video, we're going to be talking about learning by visualization. You're going to see me teaching him real quick how to go through the circuitry, how to go through the flow, how everything works, and then he's going to memorize that, and then he's going to do some drawings, wire plan drawing, and you're going to see for yourself how he's going to learn real fast and demonstrate all this to you. Now we switch gears to the wire plan. So what we're going to do, go through the similar process of going through the circuitry, the main flow where the power goes. So we're going to start with the hot water, and Miles is going to demonstrate his knowledge on this. So Miles, what happens with the hot water?
Yep, so on this wire plan system it is a bit more complicated, but I've managed to get my head around it after about 20 minutes, half an hour. So starting with the hot water, we come from terminal 3, which comes up to the common again, making a switch to terminal 1, which then sends power to the orange connection, starting the pump and boiler, but the mid-position valve is in default hot water mode already.
Excellent, well done. Okay, now let's look at the heating. What happens with that?
So on the heating, same again, terminal 4, comes to terminal 1, which makes a switch to terminal 3, which then comes down to this wire here, the white one, which sends a signal to the motor, activating the switch, which comes up to this orange connection, starting the pump and boiler. So that puts the mid position valve in the mid position, and then when they're working together and the hot water's satisfied, this connection moves to terminal 2, which comes down here to this grey wire, which then sends a signal to the motor saying that the hot water can be shut off.
That's it. Excellent. So like you said, just about 20 minutes, half an hour, basically sussed all this out, and you can see it's quite impressive. Now we're going to make it a bit more interesting. We're going to talk how he just said backwards. So just go through the hot water going backwards.
Okay, so we've got the orange connection here for the pump and boiler, which is powered by terminal 1, which switches over from the common, which comes from terminal 3 in your programmer.
Now what we're going to do, we're going to look at the hot water and heating side in reverse order as well. So we're going to assume that the hot water is satisfied, and what would you do with that then, Miles?
So the reverse for this starts here. So this has obviously just been signalled by the grey to shut off the hot water, which starts from terminal 2, which switched from terminal 1, which switched from the common, which came from terminal 3.
That's it. Excellent. Now we're going to look at the heating in the reverse order again.
Okay, so we've got the motor, which is in the mid position, which is powered by the micro switch, which came from the orange connection, starting the pump and the boiler. Then we've got the white, which came from terminal 3, which switched over from terminal 1, which came from terminal 4 in the programmer.
That's it, well done. So by going by in the reverse order of what you just said, this is to help him fault find, understand both ways going forward and back, so he can identify wiring. It helps him identify the faults and get to the solution real quick. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do a bit of fault finding, and let's see how he does with that. Right, let's look at the hot water. So let's go down here into the wiring center. Now this is a connection here from the programmer coming out on 3. So we've got power here, but basically the pump and boiler's not coming on, so it's in the hot water only. Pump and boiler's not coming on. What would you do?
So you go to your cylinder stack and you link the wire from terminal 1 to the common, And if the pump and boiler started, then you would know, that would tell you that the cylinder start has gone.
And another scenario, same connection. Now we test here, and now we've got no power here. So what do you think that would be?
So that would be the programmer, because this comes from terminal 3, which is supposed to send power to the cylinder start, but it's not, so it'd be programmer.
That's it, brilliant. Right, on the heating side, we're going to look at that. Now, if we look closer here, this is the white here. Now I'm going to test to see if we've got power here on the white, and we've got no power here. So that means we're getting no pump and boiler, no heating. So what do you think that would be, Miles?
Well, the power for this white wire comes from terminal 3 on your room stack, so you would link it out, connect it to terminal 1. If that gives you power, then you know that your room stack has gone.
Okay. Alright, so what happens? You've linked it out and it doesn't come on. What would you do then?
Well, then you would go straight to your programmer,
Why is that?
because that's where the power for terminal 1 is coming from.
Excellent. So what number of terminal is it in the programmer?
For central heating, number 4.
That's it. So now we're looking at another problem on the heating. This time we've got power on the white here, but we're still not getting no heating. So what do you think that would be?
So if there's power, then you would look at your mid-position valve, and the motor might have failed.
What else do you think would cause that? No heating.
Well, it could be the micro switch isn't sending any power to the pump and boiler via the orange connection.
Okay, Miles, we've got another fault for you. Now this one's a common one, and it'll be expressed by the customer like this. What they'll do, they'll put the heating and hot water on, and then the customer will say that the heating goes off after 1 hour and doesn't come back on for about 3 hours. And then basically that's the repeat. It comes back on, goes off after an hour, and then you have to wait another 3 hours. So that's your complaint. So what do you think that would be to make that happen?
So that would be caused by the hot water being satisfied, which causes it to switch to terminal 2, which comes to the grey here, which then signals the mid-position valve to close off the hot water side, and the micro switch in the mid-position valve has failed, and therefore the orange connection isn't being energised, and it shuts off the whole system until the water cools down, which then restarts it a couple hours later.
That's it. Well done, excellent. Very impressive from an 18-year-old boy, young man I should say. So next, what we're going to do a drawing on this Y plan, just like we did on the S plan, but you can see it's a bit more complex. But Miles, using his visualization techniques, what he's learned, he's going to demonstrate how he can draw this out for you guys. Over to you, Miles.
Right, so we'll start with the programmer and put the connections in, hot water and heating. Then we'll draw the room thermostat and cylinder stat and put those terminals in, 1 and 3, and then the common on 1 and 2. And the wiring centre, a bit small, but I've got the white, the orange and the grey. Then we'll do the mid position valve down here, put a B for hot water and A for heating. Then the pump and boiler over here. So we'll start with hot water. So terminal 3 comes over to the common, then it switches to 1, which comes down to the orange, and this then activates the pump and the boiler. The mid position's already in hot water default, so it doesn't need any electrical connections at this point. So next we'll go to heating. So terminal 4 comes to 1, and 3 comes down to the white, which then signals the mid position valve, and the orange is sent back, which then goes to the pump and boiler, as you can see. Now let's say they're working together and the hot water is satisfied. This is where it switches to the terminal 2, which comes to the grey, which then goes down to the mid position valve in this direction, and the orange, well, the grey shuts off the hot water, and the hot water port, and the orange comes back up, starting the pump and boiler.
That's it, well done. So you can see great job he's done, in fact, fantastic job. Hopefully you could understand what he's done, and like I said, he's only took maybe an hour and a half again to visualize this and draw this out live on camera, so you can see basically what's coming out of his head, what he's learnt from me. And as I said before, this is how I teach people. Basically it's simple, complicated stuff made simple, and this is how you can learn as well. Okay guys, so that's going to end this video. Hopefully you learnt a lot from what you've seen, but before we go, we're just going to go to Miles and just listen to his last things, what he's learned, and any advice can give like new people. So Miles, bring us in on what you've learnt today.
So this visualization training has been very effective. You've seen how I've been able to relay the information both on here and on the paper, and I would recommend it to new engineers as it is an effective way of learning in a short space of time to become confident out on the job and be a competent engineer.